Hi, I'm Jason. You can find me and my work online at JasonAllen127 on Twitter and Instagram. I'm here with my buddy Deuce at Tampa Photographer, and we're here with Drusif, who's at DrusifRringo on Instagram.
All right, so here's some of the photos that I got in the set. The first one I wanted to save and show you guys was kind of the effect that I was getting when using that gobo. It started to give me a blue cast, which was nice, kind of like a gel.
Yeah, I think it worked more as a gel than a gobo because of the translucent material it was made out of.
Right. Now, this was a test shot from that where we could kind of see how blue that got if I would have gotten closer to the background. I didn't move any of this stuff around. Had we gotten closer to the background, I think this would have been a much stronger shot than what I had.
I agree with that. The mix of the warm lighting with that blue backdrop, I mean, we see it on every movie poster ever.
Yeah.
It's a cliche because it works. And I wish you'd taken that and rolled with it a little bit more on that, because I was seeing where you were going with it, and then you pulled it, and I was like, no!
All right. So after I struck that, what I did was I killed the background. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was with that military action playset, I wanted to kind of give this rough and tumble, rugged, I'm a commando kind of dude. And with his hairstyle and with his fitness, it was something that I really liked, and Drusif was a total champ. Make sure you clean off anything you're putting in your model's mouth ahead of time when it comes to like, wait, I
don't think you can say that on the internet. Well, I guess on the internet.
It's the internet.
Not going to broadcast.
It's not broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to make sure you clean off anything you put in your model's mouth. Make sure it's really washed well. Make sure you use some soap. Make sure it's not too dirty. Make sure you get all the germs off it. And then when they put it in there, that way it's clean and nice and sterile for them.
I don't think there's really anything you can do to fix dollar store plastic tasting funky, though. But he was a champ with it.
Yeah, Drusif is fantastic. I used him for my noir shoot, and he was definitely a super professional about it.
Yeah.
He did have a little trouble getting aggressive towards the later ones, kind of like a crazy kind of maniac look. So we did work with this a little bit. I was using the Sigma 3514. I knew I had to be close for this, and I knew it was going to be a super distorted look. And that was part of it. I wanted kind of a disturbed look to it. I wanted him to be a bit of a maniac. So that's one of the reasons why we did the hard light. We mixed a little bit of the soft light in just to get everything fully lit. And so this was one of my favorites from that set. As you can see, the background, we pushed a little bit here, but I definitely have to go back in and darken that to make that really work well. But otherwise, it's a little bit of a cluster. On this one, we kind of can see a bit of the gobo in the background and that blue cast. And then obviously in the upper section, you can kind of see roughly where the placement was. Obviously we're going to be able to see that in the previous video. But if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. But this is roughly where it's at.
We're going to have a link down right here to check out the previous video, see the shoot in action.
And what's also interesting about this is you can see how sweaty he was. I mean, even here. I mean, he's already like super, just droplets all over the place.
Which totally worked for the look that we were both going for. So Drew is a big dude. He's built, and he wanted to do some tough guy stuff. And having like the beads of sweat and the maniac face there, I think really worked for this set.
So after we did that, I wanted to come out a little bit, back it up, and kind of get a bit of a feel for it. And this is kind of what we came up with on that. Once again, you can kind of see the background. I think I kind of wanted to get a little more of like a crazy madness in his eyes. I think his face worked really well for this one.
Yeah, I think on that last shot, we actually had all just been cracking up about something said on set off camera, and he had just like recovered from laughing when you snapped the shot. So he had these wide eyes with that, kind of like I'm gonna eat you kind of look. I really like that shot.
I feel like it says, "Come on, man, don't mess with me. You want to get it? Let's go.
We gonna do this?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's see what Jason got.
So for the set that I did with Drusif as our subject, how I envisioned it working was using my Profoto B1 overhead boomed in, using an Avenger D600 boom on a C-stand, and using the Shitty Box softbox for fill under the chin. Now, because of the beads of sweat from it being 90 and humid in the garage there, you can see in this shot just how much he glistened. And I mean, we were just getting gross with it out there in the garage. So we quickly pivoted. I said, all right, take 5, go inside, get some air conditioning, fix yourself a glass of water. We're going to quick move the lights around, get this going. So 5 minutes later, invited him back out to the garage, had him stand in, started getting that look again. And you can even see here in this shot, which is kind of one of the setup takes, sort of seeing what I was getting initially, his shirt is acting similarly to the kicker light, and we're still seeing that glisten there, but it's a lot more muted. We're getting a much harder jawline shadow there. And this is before we kind of dialed in and got placement right on the lights. So this is now through the $5 softbox on a small light stand with a speed light. This is something that if you had $100, you can go out and get this look. And when I say this look, I mean with it a little more polished, like this shot here. So this one's one of my favorite shots from the set. I backed him up almost against the seamless paper we're using as a backdrop. Nice thing about having a light close to your subject, even if it's small, it's effectively larger, because the closer you get a light source to your subject, the rounder the shadows are going to be. You're going to have less hard shadows. So that strip box is right here on the very edge of the top of the frame. It was no more than a yard from him at any point.
So on this one, did you do anything with regards to doing a little fade onto it with the curve adjustment or anything like that?
So I did punch the contrast on this shot. So the shadows are darker, the brights are brighter. There's not much beyond that. I punched the clarity to kind of get the grittiness of his stubble into the shot a little bit more, kind of work the texture of his skin along the jawline there. But beyond that, not much. So Drusif's very fair-skinned, which works well with very high-key, bright lighting close in if you're trying to get that hard, kind of gritty look that I was trying to go for, particularly when you have rapid fall-off there. Now, I kind of had this idea in mind of getting him, drawing a cigarette out from behind his ear, lighting it and looking mean, and then just kind of like taking a drag, blowing some smoke, getting the wispy curls. So we tried that. The flame from the lighter didn't really read unless you really took a drag on the cigarette. The poor guy was hacking and coughing, like burning a cigarette halfway down to get the flare up I was looking for.
Well, and I saw you guys doing that, and I had watched a couple videos previously on how to get that flame. Yeah. And I kind of had a feeling that wasn't going to work.
Well, the thing is, I was trying for a very fast shutter speed because I want, like in this shot here, these little wispy curls of smoke coming up from the cigarette. And the only way to stop that is with a faster shutter speed. So I was at or above a 1/25th of a second here. I was letting the light decide the power output the whole time in ITTL mode.
So with regards to that, why not use your flash to freeze the action on that?
So with working with smoke or with mist, I've found if you drag the shutter and do rear curtain sync where the flash pops at just the very end of the take to catch that action, you lose a lot of the clarity of the smoke because it's lost in the haze of all the wisps and curls that came before it. So if it's let's say a dragged shutter shot where you're doing a 1/4 of a second exposure and you got to be on a tripod for that, which I wanted to move faster than that. I didn't want to mess with that too much because it was hot, and I'll admit I was trying to cut a corner there. So I didn't want to drag the shutter because I was lazy. I'll say that first. But also because all the smoke that comes up for that first 1/4 of a second before the shutter starts to move, flash fires as the shutter's closing, it just would have been lost. And I was more concerned with seeing the smoke wisps than I was with the flame from it. So I just struck that shot and we just moved on to something else. We pivoted.
Okay.
So this shot here, where he's kind of got that I own the room, why you looking at me attitude, with the cigarette in front of him, he just took a drag. We get the little wisps across the shadow there on his face, a little bit across his face, a little bit across his hair, and up and away. It just has the mood I was looking for. So I'm particularly happy with this shot and this one after it. You can see the little wisps sort of framing his face on this one here. So yeah, not bad for working with a $5 lighting modifier and a whole lot of duct tape. So if you're trying to get this similar look, it doesn't take a lot of hardware, including the camera gear for it. So other than your camera, you need a speed light, and you can get a inexpensive $60 speed light.
That's the one I was using.
Yep, like the Yongnuo 560 or the newer 600s are not much more money. They recycle even faster. and then some stuff from the dollar store and a cheap light stand. That's all this was.
All right, so let's go and see which ones we picked.